Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Costa Rica webinar with Not in the Guidebooks. I'm Debbie. I'm the sales director at Not in the Guidebooks. I believe we've got a few Not in the Guidebook staff on. I could see Vicky was on there. There's probably some others as well. And Michelle, who is our senior marketing assistant, is also on. And as I say, she puts these wonderful webinars together and puts all together our content that you see on socials that you can use. So, today I'm really excited to talk about this amazing destination. I absolutely love it. And, hopefully by the end of it, you'll be inspired not only to go, but to promote it to your customers as well. So, let's just have a quick look through at what we're going to cover today. So, why Costa Rica? Why would people travel to Costa Rica? Who it's for? So, who are the best travelers to visit, the best times to visit? And then I'm going to take you through some trip highlights and real experiences from the visit that we did to Costa Rica. So, I hope that's okay. You're going to have to indulge me there. A few more people to let in, please, Michelle, in the waiting room, if you can let those in. We're also going to show you some example itineraries from Not in the Guidebooks to Costa Rica. So the type of things that you can book for your customers with us. We'll talk then at the end about marketing content and then also any latest news and incentives. So let's get started. Obviously, do stay until the end. If you haven't already, let us know that you are here. So anybody new that's joining, at the end of the session, there will be a QR code on the screen that you need to just scan and let us know you're here, because that will get you your entry into our Vietnam fam trip competition. If you can't scan the QR code, within the chat box, there is a link that you can click on there as well. So I'm going to get started. And just before we do get started, I'm going to play you a short video on Costa Rica to get you in the mood. Again there. So hopefully that's got you in the mood. Let's orientate ourselves a little bit here. I'm sorry if you keep seeing a black screen, a black box on the screen. That's just where more people try and come into the webinar, and it just for some reason puts a box onto my screen there, and I can't move it, which is frustrating. So let's orientate ourselves as to where Costa Rica is. Costa Rica is located in Central America, nestled between Panama and to the south, Panama to the south, and then Nicaragua to the north. It's lucky enough to have two stunning coastlines, the Caribbean Sea on one side and the Pacific Ocean on the other, offering two very different vibes and different landscapes. So Costa Rica is pretty lucky in that respect. In terms of getting there, it's around a 14-hour flight from London Heathrow to San Jose, the capital, and that's its main international airport. And what's really exciting, just in the last 3 or 4 weeks, British Airways have announced that they're starting a direct service in October this year. It's on sale now. A new non-stop service to San Jose 5 days a week. So that's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And whereas it used to be from Gatwick, it is now from Heathrow. So 5 days a week, direct flights with British Airways from Heathrow. So that's a brilliant, brilliant USP for you guys. There's lots of other options that people can use. You can fly via Europe. When I went myself, I flew with Air France via Paris Charles de Gaulle. You can fly via Madrid as well. There's also quite a few options flying via the US, which is absolutely fine. But the only word of advice I would say there is make sure you give your customers plenty of time to transfer. Obviously, in the States, they don't have transfer lanes. You do have to clear customs with everybody else that's arriving into the States, wherever it is. So we always suggest a minimum of 2.5 to 3 hours transfer time if you are flying via the States. But there's lots of options flying via Europe, or of course with the new direct British Airways service. There's no visa required for UK passport holders staying up to 90 days in Costa Rica. So that's another good tick box. So very accessible. The local currency is the Costa Rican colon, but US dollars are widely accepted in most tourist areas. So that's good. And the time difference, they are 7 hours behind us in the UK. So currently there, I think it's probably about 4 a.m. So let's have a little look, a bit more detailed look at Costa Rica, highlighting some of the key destinations that your customers might want to explore. So we're going to start in San Jose. This is the capital and where most international flights arrive. And while it's mainly a gateway, there are some great museums here, markets, cultural experiences if clients do want to spend a night here at the start or end of their trip. It's not a huge city. There's not loads and loads to see, so you don't need 2 or 3 days at all. But it's a good place to just, if you're getting over a long flight, just to have a night in San Jose. And most of our itineraries do include that first and last night in San Jose. Then heading northeast, we've got Tortuguero, a truly unique destination, often called the Amazon of Costa Rica. It's only accessible by boat or small plane, and it's famous for its turtle nesting, beaches, canal systems, and some truly incredible wildlife, especially monkeys, sloths, and birds. And I'll talk a little bit more about all of these resorts as we go through the presentation. Coming further south along the Caribbean coast, you've got Puerto Viejo, which offers a completely different feel to Tortuguero, much more laid back with a strong Afro-Caribbean influence, fantastic food, and beautiful beaches. From there, we'll start heading inland. Over in the north, we have Arenal and La Fortuna. You've likely heard of some of these because they're places that a lot of people do visit while they're there. Home to the iconic Arenal volcano. So this is one of Costa Rica's adventure capitals, this area. You've got hot springs here, so the volcano creates obviously the thermal hot springs, so lots of people like that. You've got plenty of opportunities for hiking and nature tours as well. And very close by, you've got Monteverde. So this is cloud forest territory, high in the mountains. It's great for zip lining, hanging bridges. People who love nature and want something a little bit quieter. You've got the canopy walks, is like the hanging bridges. You've got things like coffee farms here, incredible bird watching opportunities. So a really great place, and a lot of people like to stop there and do that with Arenal as well. Going to head over to the Pacific coast now into the Guanacaste region where we've got Nazara and Tamarindo. Tamarindo is definitely one of the most developed beach towns in this region. So if you've got people that, you know, want something that's really quite commercial, lots going on, bars, restaurants, and all that kind of stuff, then Tamarindo is the place. We prefer to send people to Nazara, which is a little bit further south of Tamarindo. Bit more of an exclusive feel. It's more of a off the beaten track vibe. So we prefer to send people there because it's just a little bit more authentic compared to Tamarindo. A little further south, you've got Yaco. So coming down on the map, you've got Yaco. So a more developed, lively, popular for its surf, beaches, nightlife, and proximity to San Jose. So a lot of people might do that if they're just coming to Costa Rica for the beach. I don't know why you would, because you could need to go and see everywhere in Costa Rica. But it's a good option at the end of a trip if people just want a social stop on the coast. And that could be said the same for Manuel Antonio as well. So very similar to Yaco, a firm favourite. At Manuel Antonio, you've got a bit more though. It's known for its national park, so it combines beautiful beaches with lovely rainforest hikes as well. Again, abundant wildlife in this area like sloths and the capuchin monkeys. So Manuel Antonio is a good all-rounder resort if people want to have the beach and also do some of the other activities as well that Costa Rica is famous for. And then coming right down south, you can see on the map there a place called Drake Bay. This is on the Osa Peninsula. It's remote, it's wild, and it's home to Corcovado National Park, one of the most biodiverse places on Earth. This is for the serious nature lovers and clients who really want to get off grid. So probably one of my favorite places in Costa Rica. So as you can see, Costa Rica offers a huge variety of landscapes and different areas to visit, making it ideal for a multi-stop holiday rather than just a one resort holiday. But we're going to learn more about these resorts as we go round and what they offer. So before we do that, let's take a moment to appreciate just how extraordinary Costa Rica really is, not just as a destination, but as a country. So first off, it's a biodiversity hotspot. I'm sure lots of you know this already. It's home to over 5% of the world's species, and despite it being smaller than Scotland. So that's quite incredible. That means it's bursting with wildlife, from colourful frogs and toucans to sloths and jaguars. Costa Rica is also an eco leader as well. 99% of its energy comes from renewable sources. That's pretty incredible. And it consistently ranks in the top 10 greenest countries in the world. Costa Rica protects more of its land as national parks and reserves than any other country. Around 25% of its total territory is under protection, which is pretty incredible. And it's also one of just 5 blue zones in the world. A blue zone are places where people live significantly longer, healthier lives. So there's clearly something in the air. Or perhaps it's in the coffee, or perhaps it's in both. Speaking of which, coffee is a big deal here, both culturally and economically. You'll find amazing sustainable coffee farms that you can visit as part of your clients' adventures. We went to one and it was really, really quite incredible. And here's a fun fact. Costa Rica hasn't had a standing army since 1948. I was quite amazed. I didn't realize they don't have an army. Instead, they've invested rather than invest money in an army, they've invested in education, healthcare, and in environmental protection. The country is also geologically fascinating. It has over 200 volcanic formations, many of which you can hike around, Arenal being one of them, and obviously soak in the nearby hot springs of those volcanoes too. If you've got bird-loving customers, they will be in paradise in Costa Rica. It is home to over 900 species of birds, including things like the resplendent quetzal, toucans, macaws, and hummingbirds as well. And I have to say that when I went to Costa Rica, I never thought myself as a bird watcher, but by the time I came home, I absolutely was. It was just incredible spotting all the different varieties of birds that were out there. And finally, there is a phrase in Costa Rica called pura vida. I'm sure you've heard of it. It means pure life, but it's more than that. It's a way of life, positive, laid back, and it's all about living well. This is what Costa Rica is about. So in a nutshell, pura vida is about celebrating life and staying optimistic no matter what. And they use it as a greeting out there. So, you will hear it constantly. So they'll say good morning, or they might say pura vida instead. So it's this natural beauty, sustainability, culture, and mindset that make Costa Rica such a special destination and a dream for agents like you to sell. So hopefully everybody's keen to go now, and we'll jump into the presentation. So when it comes to visiting Costa Rica, the timing can really enhance your client's experience depending on what they want to do and what they want to see. The dry season is from December through to April, and it's generally considered the best weather-wise this time of year. Plenty of sunshine, warm temperatures, and lower humidity. It's an ideal time for beach, hiking, and outdoor adventures. However, the green or rainy season, which is roughly from May to November, really does have its own charms. And we actually visited in June and early July. And yes, it rained, and yes, it rained hard, but it was usually in the afternoons. You could actually set your watch by it. It usually came by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It would normally hang around for about an hour, a couple of hours at most. There might be the odd day where it lasted longer, but most of the time you could set your watch. Between 2 and 3 in the afternoon, you'd get an hour or a couple of hours of heavy rainfall, and then after that, it was just clear. And that time of year is lovely because you get really lush, vibrant landscapes. It's less crowded, and many travellers prefer that time of year. So we do get the rush. Lots of people like to travel over Christmas and during the drier months, but don't be put off by the rainy season. It's a great time to visit as well. So let's talk about some of those unforgettable wildlife adventure highlights, because again, depending on what time of year you visit, you will get to see different things. So whale watching, the best time to see humpback whales is during the two key windows from July to October in the southern Pacific and for December to March in the northern Pacific. So timing a trip around those months to have the best chance of seeing the whales, you want to work around those times. But don't worry if you don't. I don't expect you to remember all this. We can help you. So if you've got customers that are saying, yes, we definitely want to do whale watching in Costa Rica, we can obviously advise you of the best time. A lot of people will visit Costa Rica for the turtle nesting season. So, Costa Rica is famous for its turtle conservation efforts. The main nesting season runs from July through to October, especially on the Caribbean coast and in Tortuguero, where clients can take guided night tours to see turtles laying their eggs or hatchlings making their way to the sea. So, obviously, depending on what time you're going, as I say, we went in June and July. We visited Tortuguero, and I'll be talking a little bit more about it later. But we were lucky enough to catch the start of nesting season where the turtles come up the beach, lay their eggs, and then go back. And then the hatching season tends to really be from the end of August onwards. If you've got surfers, so if you've got customers that are surfers and want to do surfers, the Pacific coast is great year round for surfing, but the best waves tend to be during the rainy season, which, as I've mentioned, is May to November when the swells are obviously bigger. The Caribbean coast offers better surfing during the dry season, which is obviously the December through to March time. Hiking and outdoor adventures. Listen, you can hike anytime. We often say the dry season is best for exploring the many trails around the volcanoes and the cloud forests and the national parks, because obviously there's less chance of being interrupted by rain. But hey, don't need to be put off by rain. You can hike in the rain. No such thing as bad weather, just bad preparation. Isn't that what they say? But yeah, hiking in the green season can be rewarding too, with the waterfalls being fuller and the forests being more vibrant. So, depending on what your clients are looking for, what their interests are, whether it's sunbathing, wildlife spotting, surfing, hiking, Costa Rica offers a range of excellent travel windows throughout the year. And as I say, we can recommend when your customers travel. So one of the things that makes Costa Rica so easy to sell is just how broad its appeal. I mean, obviously, I've talked there about the different times of year and some of the different wildlife you can see, but it really is a great destination for everyone. Whether you're booking couples, families, or groups, there really is something that fits everybody. So for couples, it's perfect for that mix of adventure and relaxation. So we do lots of honeymoons to Costa Rica. You've got boutique stays, you've got incredible scenery, and you've got really memorable experiences that couples and honeymooners can do together, or anybody celebrating a special anniversary. For families, it's a great option too. It's safe, it's easy to get around, and it's packed with wildlife and activities that keeps kids engaged. And for groups, like the trip we did, it works brilliantly. So if you've got corporate groups that want to go out, or if you've got multi-generational family groups, it's great. There's such a variety of experiences, adrenaline activities like zip lining or the hanging bridges, to more relaxed moments. It really does cater for everybody. So what I'm saying is you should get it on your socials and promote it to all your client base. So that gives you some facts, figures, and a quick overview of Costa Rica, where it is, when to go, and who it's perfect for. But as we know, it's one thing talking about a destination, but another to actually experiencing it. So what we wanted to do today on the webinar was really bring Costa Rica to life a little bit more. I think Carol, our CEO, is on the webinar. Are you there, Carol? Take yourself off mute if you are. Don't know whether she is or not. Maybe not. Anyway, Carol and I travelled with a group of travel agents back in June, July 2024. And we're going to share some of those highlights with you through a mix of videos and a few personal stories along the way. So I hope that's okay, and I hope you enjoy it. Just before we start that, I'm going to want to introduce you to our amazing local host in Costa Rica, Roberto. Roberto not only put this trip together for us, but he designs all of our Costa Rica itineraries and personally oversees every customer journey. He'll often meet clients in San Jose before they start their trip, and he even sometimes pops up along the way as well. So what really sets Roberto apart is his passion for showcasing the authentic, off the beaten track side of Costa Rica, the places and experiences most travelers simply wouldn't find on their own. And with that deep local knowledge that he has, and obviously his connections, he's constantly uncovering those hidden gems that make a trip truly special. So when your clients travel with us in Costa Rica, they're not just getting an itinerary, they're getting a carefully curated experience designed and supported on the ground by someone who genuinely knows and loves the destination. So let's jump straight in. So onto our trip. This was our route. Let me play you the video. Here we go. Now, you have to excuse that it does showcase us flying between destinations. We didn't fly between destinations. We drove between all destinations, as well as some other pretty interesting transfers. So the only flight was into and out of San Jose. But this shows the route that we took. We flew into San Jose, which is the main gateway. We began up in Tortuguero on the Caribbean coast before heading across to Arenal and La Fortuna and then into the Monteverde cloud forest. From there, we made our way to the Pacific coast. I'll just play this again while we're waiting. From there, we made our way down the Pacific coast, stopping in a place called Yaco and then Santa Juana. Let's let the map catch up. Here we go. So yeah, Arenal, Monteverde. We then flew down to Yaco. We were then heading down to the Osa Peninsula, but we stopped via Santa Juana. Then we were into the Osa Peninsula and Drake Bay before driving back up, stopping at Carrera National Park, and then coming back into San Jose for our flight home. So we crammed an awful lot in our 10 days that we were there. We crammed a lot in. If your customers were doing it, we would suggest on this particular itinerary that you allow a good 2 weeks to 16 days to do this trip. So let's start in Tortuguero. So from San Jose, after a night in San Jose to recover from the long flight, we were up early, 6 a.m. we were up, and we were on our way to Tortuguero. And what started out as a fairly simple transfer quickly turns into part of the experience itself. I remember our little bus pulling into a small, almost hidden spot by the water where these long, narrow boats were waiting. So I'm going to just play you the video while I carry on talking. Yeah, that's playing. And we got off our little bus, and with the help of locals and their wheelbarrows, we unloaded all of our luggage, carried it down to the boats, and that's when it really started to feel like an adventure. From there, we set off along the Tortuguero canals, surrounded by dense jungle with wildlife all around us. And you can see on the video here, it was just incredible. And it's worth noting that it isn't just a scenic route. It isn't just a scenic boat trip. It's actually the only way in. Tortuguero is completely water-based, so all of the lodges and resorts are accessed by boat, which makes arriving there really quite special and totally unique. And as you can see on the video here, we drew up and we came under these canopies, and that's where we entered our resort. So a really great start to our adventure in Costa Rica. We then spent a couple of days in Tortuguero, and honestly, the wildlife here is simply incredible. We saw so much, from different species of monkeys jumping from tree to tree right above us. You can see us looking up in this picture, to the amazing variety of bird life everywhere you look. And I have to say, I never thought of myself as a bird watcher, as I mentioned earlier, but by the end of these 2 days, I was completely hooked at spotting different birds. It was quite interesting. Where we're leaning back on the boat here, we were actually watching a sloth. So one of the driver of the boat had spotted a sloth, and we were looking up to spot the sloth in the trees. So it's one of those places where you're constantly spotting something new. It really gives clients that immersive nature-led experience Costa Rica is so famous for. And we stayed at a place called Laguna Lodge. This is Laguna Lodge that you can see here, which is right in the heart of the rainforest, set between the canals and the Caribbean Sea. This was the beautiful pool area, and this was our lovely room. So quite rustic, but really, really lovely. The windows weren't windows; they were literally just sort of netted to stop any mosquitoes or bugs getting in. but a really, really lovely accommodation here. And what I really loved about Tortuguero was that we went out in the mornings, on perhaps a dawn cruise to see the wildlife. And then in the afternoon, we had just the time by the pool to relax and get over our early morning. But I want to tell you a story about why we were here in Tortuguero, because bearing in mind, this was my first time in Costa Rica. I was sharing a room with Carol. She had been to Costa Rica before, but she didn't let on something. And the guide, when he dropped us off the day before, said, right, have an early night. You need to be up nice and early. You need to be up at 4:30 to meet the boat at 5 o'clock. Set your alarms and make sure you're up. So there I am in bed the night before. I'm setting my phone, 4:30. And I said, you better set your alarm. I'm a bit, I always get a bit twitchy with alarms. Set your alarm as well, Carol, to make sure we get up in time. And she went, no, no, it's fine. And I went, no, no, you should. No, 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 it's fine. You won't need to. And I went, really? And she went, yeah, yeah, you won't need an alarm. And I went, I will if I've got to get up at 4:30. And she went, no, no, you won't. And I couldn't work out why. And she didn't let on until at 4 o'clock in the morning, I found out. I honestly thought I had woken up in Jurassic Park. What she didn't tell me was that the howler monkeys are pretty prevalent in this area of Costa Rica. And whereas we think of monkeys making cute little ooh, ooh, ooh noises, no, not the howler monkeys. They make this sound. So I don't know if that for me that was pretty eerie in the morning. And let me tell you, on the video, it didn't really let on how loud it was. They were incredibly loud, and honestly, like I say, it felt like I was in an episode of Jurassic Park. It was pretty scary, but pretty surreal and amazing at the same time. So we spent the next 2 days in these wonderful canals, discovering so much wildlife and birds. We had an amazing guide with us. Tortuguero is all about getting close to nature, and one of the real highlights here is the early morning boat trip through the canals, seeing all the wildlife coming to life for the day. There's also the chance while you're there to visit the small local village where you can browse the artisan little craft shops. Honestly, it's an amazing little village. You can see some of the locals making different handicrafts. It's amazing, and of course, you can enjoy a homemade coconut cocktail as well, which we did partake in. And for something a bit more immersive, an optional tour is to do the kayaking, which I actually did myself. There was just two of us that did this. You can explore the canals a bit more closer. You can get closer to the surroundings and really take it all in at your own pace. And this really was quite a surreal moment because he took us into some pretty tight little corners in these kayaks. And I remember all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, it's a crocodile, it's a crocodile. And he was like, no, 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 it's all right. It's just a caiman. But we were right next to what looked like a crocodile, but only just a small caiman. He told us not to be worried. But, when you just sat in a kayak, it's hard not to be worried. But again, one of those moments that I'll never forget, kayaking around the canals in Tortuguero. It's a really unique part of Costa Rica. I would highly recommend it. And especially if you've got customers that want to see the turtles. So, as I mentioned earlier, Tortuguero is one of the most important turtle nesting sites in the world. So, depending on the time of year, and if this is something that your clients are potentially interested in, they can absolutely experience this as part of their trip. And as I mentioned, we were incredibly lucky with our timing because normally, kind of at the end of June, you're only just coming into turtle nesting season. So it was a bit hit and miss whether we would see anything. But we were really lucky. We were out walking along the beach one morning, and we had the chance to witness a female turtle making her way back to the ocean after laying her eggs in the sand. And it really was an incredible sight. These turtles are huge. You know, when we talk about turtles, I think we think about, tiny little turtles that we're used to here in the UK, like tortoises. But honestly, these turtles are huge. And the tracks they leave behind in the sand are really impressive. It's honestly, it's like a tractor or a quad bike has come up the sand. So let me play you this video with our guide explaining about the turtles.
So, if you look back to the beach, you're going to see that there's two tracks. One is the track when the turtle was coming uphill to find the right spot before the tree line, where there is soft sand to dig. And then you can see the other second track, that is the track leading back to the water. And you can still see the turtle right there.
There we are. You can see the turtle going back out to sea after laying her eggs in the sand. So what they do is they come in June, July. They come right up to the beach. They find the soft sand. They dig their hole, they lay their eggs in the sand, and then they go back into the ocean. And then those eggs hatch in from the end of August onwards. And I'm sure some of you have seen the videos before where you can see a lot of the turtles hatching and then running down to the ocean. Tiny little turtles having hatched, running, making their way back to the ocean. So quite an impressive sight. I mean, I was blown away by that. And having a guide with us made such a difference as well, because he was so knowledgeable, shared all his knowledge about the turtles, the whole nesting process, which really brought the experience to life. But actually to actually witness the turtle and the tracks that it made and actually seeing it in the ocean was pretty incredible. So from Tortuguero, we made our way over to Arenal and La Fortuna. Now, bearing in mind that this is probably quite a long transfer. It's about 4 to 5 hours, and bearing in mind we'd been up, really early. I think both mornings. We'd been up quite early to do different dawn cruises. I was quite looking forward to having perhaps a couple of hours shut-eye in the van, but we were told, no, we're going to visit a local pineapple farm on the way back. And I was a bit like, oh, okay, I'd rather have a sleep, I think, but okay, no, we'll visit the pineapple farm. And honestly, it ended up being one of the real highlights of the trip. We visited this local pineapple farm. It was run by a multi-generational family who have been growing pineapples for years. They shared how the farm has evolved over time, and it gave us a real insight into local life and traditions. And of course, we got to taste the pineapple as well. And believe me, wow, once you've tasted pineapple in Costa Rica, you will never taste anything like it. And as I mentioned, it ended up being one of the real highlights of the trip. And it's a great example of the kind of experience that you'd never just stumble across on your own. It was Roberto that found, this farm and said, actually, we should be putting this into your itineraries because it's fabulous. So let me play you the video.
Both must be sweet, but clients choose always the perfect size.
Just look at that pineapple. It was incredible. And the way he cut it was just amazing as well. And what he was explaining there was that, they grow thousands and thousands of pineapples, but a huge percentage of them get rejected. When he's talking about customers, he's talking about, supermarkets and wholesalers that then distribute them to supermarkets. And what he was saying was that a huge proportion of pineapples get rejected because of their size or their shape, which just is criminal to me, honestly. But I mean, I don't know if you've seen in the supermarkets now, not necessarily with pineapples. Sorry, my cat's climbing over my desk. But you'll see in some supermarkets now where they sell, what do they call it? I've seen it in Morrison's where it's misshaped fruit and vegetables, which they sell slightly cheaper if you don't mind it being a different shape to what it normally or what it should be or traditionally is. So that was a really interesting stop. And right at the end of it, after we'd done the pineapple farm tour and we saw lots of wildlife on the way round as well, we then went into their little cafe there that they had there, and we had pineapple juice and pineapple cake, which was just amazing. So once we'd left the pineapple farm, we headed to Arenal and La Fortuna. And whilst we were in Arenal and La Fortuna, we headed out on a guided hike through the jungle. And this is where having a local guide really makes all the difference. Although he did sort of spook me a little bit, because the first thing he said before we set off on the hike was, does everybody like spiders? Now, if you're anything like me, I hate spiders, frightened to death of them. So he was like, yeah, we're going to see some really big spiders, really big spiders. Anyway, I was a bit like, I don't think I want to go on this, but he was actually joking. You could see spiders, but they were very good about making sure who didn't and who did like spiders, so that they were very subtle about, if they spotted one, making sure they showed it to the right people. So whilst we were on the jungle hike, we were spotting things like sloths tucked up in the trees, monkeys moving through the canopies, spiders, birds. There was always something to see. And then the hike finishes with that incredible reward, a view out over the iconic Arenal volcano, which is just a real wow moment. And afterwards, we stopped for lunch with a local family, or a local family run business, which was another highlight. Really fresh, authentic food. You can see a picture of it here on the screen. And it was a great chance to connect with the local community. So let's just play a video of our jungle hike.
Fingers in their hands. And they're thumbless, you see?
Are these the ones that use the tail?
You see the monkeys there?
It's a strombolian eruption, so these are lava rocks that don't move.
And I have to say, our guide was brilliant. You know, he spotted sloths, or he spotted certain bird types, and he had, you know, all the equipment that we could look through to be able to see them. So really, really good. And then what was really nice, after that local lunch, we spent the afternoon visiting the thermal springs that the area is famous for. So we had we visited the thermal springs, and then we were back to our hotel for a relaxing afternoon by the pool. So I think that's really important to note. I mean, Costa Rica, there is so much to see and do, but we do take on board that it is customers' holiday, and therefore we like to think that with our itineraries we strike the right balance between adventure and relaxation, giving them the time they need to chill out after perhaps an early morning or a late night, and have that time by the pool. So from Arenal, it was on to Monteverde. And as we made our way up into the mountains, you could really feel the change in landscape and climate. It becomes cooler, mistier, and a lot more atmospheric. Monteverde is all about the cloud forest experience. So it's a bit slower paced, but perfect for clients who love nature. You've got things here like the hanging bridges that you can see in the middle image here. You've got the canopy walks. You've got zip lining. So this area is home to South America's longest zip line. It's 1.5 kilometers long. Yes, I did it. Wow. And it's a really incredible biodiversity. There's incredible biodiversity all around you here. It's just an amazing area. You've got fabulous coffee plantations here as well. We visited an amazing coffee, chocolate, and sugar plantation. And yeah, I think you might enjoy this video when I play it. I'm going to leave the sound on. You'll know why in a minute. So this is the longest zip line.
You got it, Matt. Have fun.
We're good.
Ready? Yep. Everything is safe. Ready.
1.5 kilometers, this zip line, above the most incredible green scenery you'll ever experience.
Charlie's here, chicas.
It was amazing. They showed us how they made the chocolate. We got to taste it as well.
You need to keep grinding and grinding even more.
And this was where we were putting the sugar cane through. So it was brilliant. And they let us taste this. And it was amazing. It was so sweet.
Abajo, al centro, pa adentro, pura vida.
Pura vida.
So yes, it was truly the zip lining was a fabulous moment, and that one you saw at the end, that was where you could jump off this platform literally and just free fall for a little bit. And what was really interesting was it was in the afternoon that we did this experience, and it got to about 3 o'clock, and they could see the clouds rolling in, and it started thundering, and they would have to shut the zip line at that point, and all the slide at the end. So they said, look, if you want to do it, you're going to have to hurry up. You're going to have to hurry up. So they were literally trying. And obviously, when you're standing on that platform waiting to jump off, you're a bit hesitant, but we couldn't afford to be hesitant. So we were like, oh, what's it like? What's it like? And in the end, they just went, you're going to have to go. So we just had to jump, and one of us had to be pushed. I won't say who, just had to push us off and get us gone off there. But I think one of my most standout moments in Monteverde was actually something really, really simple, and that was having breakfast. So we were staying at the Cura Hotel in Monteverde, and where you have breakfast, you are sat on this lovely balcony area with this, glass balcony, as you can see in the little corner image there. And we were just sat there having breakfast, and right next to us, monkeys were literally jumping from tree to tree. There were so many mums with their babies on their backs. Honestly, it was like they were taking them to play group because they were all heading in one direction. But it was just so incredible to watch, and it just felt so special sitting there having breakfast, being able to see that. Let me just play you the video. And they were so close. If you can turn, you can see the little baby on her back. I loved it, honestly. It was one of those moments that just happens really naturally, and it reminds you how immersed you are in the environment, and you just think, oh my goodness, I'm so lucky to be here. So from Monteverde, we headed further south down the Pacific coast this time. So obviously Tortuguero was on the Caribbean coast. We were now heading down the Pacific coast, and we were making our way towards the Osa Peninsula, which, if you remember the map right at the beginning, was right down the south. And we were heading to a place called Drake Bay. But we broke up the journey with a couple of overnight stops along the way, obviously to make the trip more comfortable, but to explore some of the more off-beaten track areas as well, which again turned out to be real highlights of the trip. And one of those was a place called Santa Juana in the Punta Arenas region, where we stayed in a small family-run property with the most incredible views over the landscape. So I'm going to play you this video, and you can see a little bit of the area before, but then right at the end, you see the shot is taken from the balcony of our room, where we were sat out on this balcony, and we could hear the woodpecker on a tree, but you can just see the stunning scenery that our room overlooked, and all the rooms were like this. Here. Just look at that view. Wow. Honestly, I wish I was back there today. So while we were in Santa Juana, the owner of the property actually took us on a light hike to a beautiful waterfall. So we talk about hiking in Costa Rica. I really don't want you to think that, customers that perhaps aren't very fit or a little bit older, that aren't used to hiking can't do Costa Rica. They absolutely can. Everything can be tailored around, your customers' limitations. But honestly, the hikes we did, none of them were hard. They were all really easily doable. And he took took us on this light hike out to a beautiful waterfall, and along the way we spotted so much wildlife, including snakes, which definitely added a bit of excitement. I remember him saying, "Oh, look, there's a little." I can't remember what he called the little snake, but it was just a tiny snake, and it was just wrapped around a tree. And he said, "Don't get too close because it is, really quite venomous and really quite dangerous." So yeah, it certainly added a bit of excitement to the trip. But we'd been told to bring our swimwear, as we'd have the chance to swim in the falls, but we didn't realize that we could actually jump into them too. So there was a couple of different platforms. This one here, let me show you this one. That was the medium platform, and let me tell you, that was quite a height. But there was another one which was much, much higher, which none of us were brave enough to do, where you could jump right into the waterfall. So really quite incredible. And it's moments like this that really stay with you. And it's the kind of a place, again, that you wouldn't find this place on your own. You'd need that little bit of local knowledge, which is obviously what Roberto brings to our itineraries. And it really made, this, I would say this was one of the stops that really made it special to me, because I knew that I was visiting somewhere that not many people did. And, I felt just very, very lucky to have experienced that. So from Santa Juana, we made our way down to the Osa Peninsula and Drake Bay. And, we talk about transfers, and yeah, there's quite a lot of transfers and, traveling in this itinerary. But honestly, some of the transfers are experiences in themselves, a bit like the Tortuguero Canal transfer. The transfer to Drake Bay itself on the Osa Peninsula, I think this probably was the standout transfer. It's actually about a 2-hour transfer. So we were on this little boat for 2 hours, and honestly, it felt like going through 4 seasons in one boat journey. We started off very sedate, serenely, weaving through the mangroves, surrounded by wildlife and greenery. We then moved out into the river proper, again surrounded by really lush greenery, lots of birds, lots of wildlife to see, monkeys jumping in the trees. And before we knew it, we were heading straight out into the open ocean. And at first it was beautifully calm and sunny, but you could see the weather starting to change in the distance, dark clouds. And before we knew it, the clouds rolled in, the wind picked up, and we were quickly reaching for our ponchos as the heavens opened. Then it became quite choppy. The rain was really heavy. The winds were strong, but it all added to the sense of adventure. And then, really, as quick as it started, it ended. And we arrived into Drake Bay into the resort of Aguila de Osa. And it was calm, it was lush, it was completely serene. And it was like stepping into another world. But yeah, honestly, you'll see the dazed looks as people, when I show you this video, when people were getting off the boat at the end, you can see the dazed look on their faces, because honestly, they couldn't quite believe what they'd been through. So here we are, sedately in the mangroves. Little did we know what we were in for. Then we were out into the river. You can see the clouds here. Picked up speed.
Should we do it again? Have we got to do it again?
Hello. I love that video. Just an incredible, again, another incredible experience, one that we won't forget. And I love the fact that someone said, oh, shall we do it again? And another one said, do we have to do it again? And yes, we did. It wasn't quite as traumatic on the return journey. It was a little bit more sedate. So Aguila de Osa is a really special boutique eco lodge set right on the edge of the rainforest overlooking the ocean. let me play you the video while we're talking. It's all about that immersive back to nature feel, which we try and get with all of our accommodation in Costa Rica. The rooms are really comfortable, spacious rooms, incredible views. Wildlife is all around you. I love the way that there were monkeys who peered at you over the roof. If you can see on the image to the left of the video, sorry, to the right of the video, you can see a little monkey's face just peering over into our room. And that was a regular occurrence there. So just really, really lovely. The food is excellent here, and it's the perfect location for exploring Corcovado National Park and Cano Island. So it's a really great option for clients looking for something unique, authentic, and really connected to the destination. I mean, you saw the views on that balcony there, from that balcony there. So the Ossa Peninsula itself is home to Corcovado National Park and Cano Island, both absolute must-do experiences, in my opinion, whilst you're here, and probably the reason why people would come down to this area. One of the things that really stood out in Corcovado was just how wild and untouched it feels. The wildlife is incredible. We saw monkeys moving through the trees, coatis on the floor, tapirs, and so many different species of birds. There's always something happening around you, and you never know quite what you're going to come across next. But I think what really struck me was how carefully the park was protected. Before you even enter, before you get off the boat, they check your bags to make sure that you're not bringing in any single-use plastics like plastic bottles. And it really shows how seriously they take conservation. And that all adds to the experience, because you really feel like you're stepping into a place that's been preserved properly, where nature really comes first. It's not commercialized at all. It's raw, it's real, and that's what makes it so, so special. So let me play you the video here.
The coatis, the kingfishers, among others. Most of those mountains.
And these are actually tiny little crabs, literally no bigger than your small fingernail, these tiny little crabs.
Tall, hind legs. It's next to the orange fruit. Come here.
They're showing us a bird. They were quite incredible. So yeah, for me, probably one of the most special places that we visited whilst we were there. And then we also headed out to Cano Island, where I think there was 5 of us that headed out to Cano Island, which was another highlight. Let me play you the video while I'm talking. We traveled over on a small boat, and we were going snorkeling, but on the way we had dolphins swimming alongside us that you can see in the video. Again, another incredible sight. Honestly, there was just so many incredible things that happened while we were in Costa Rica. Just, every day delivered something new. And once we arrived, once we were over at Cano Island, we jumped straight into the ocean to snorkel. There's some amazing marine life there. We saw turtles, we saw even reef sharks in there. It was a real pinch me moment. So the water's really clear. It just feels like you're just really completely immersed in nature. And again, it's one of those experiences that really sticks with you, and will for a lot of clients, as it's something they'll never have done before, never experienced before. So after that incredible adventure on the Ossa Peninsula, it was time to start making our way back. We travelled north, stopping in the Tarco area, which is near Carrara National Park. And here we had a brilliant crocodile experience, where we got a little closer than was comfortable to some of these enormous creatures. So let me play you the video here.
They're carrying their eggs and babies. Months ago we saw baby crocodiles, but no more than 200 million years on the world. The lifespan of these animals, like this crocodile, 50 years old, but
these crocs were huge. I mean, they must have been 10 foot long. They were huge. And we were right next to them in our boat. So again, an amazing experience. And again, probably not one that you'd necessarily find on your own, to know that to visit this area. So that's the beauty of booking with us, that we will take clients to do activities just like this. So from there, it was back to San Jose and onward for our flight home. But we did have a night in San Jose. We stayed in an amazing property. where, again, we saw lots and lots of wildlife just around the property. So even in San Jose, we try and put people in properties that are sort of a bit more out of the city, so that they're getting that sense of Costa Rica straight away when they arrive and just before they leave as well. So I think it's fair to say by that point, by the time we got back, we'd experienced just how diverse and special Costa Rica really is. So hopefully that gives you a real feel for what our Costa Rica trip looked like, and what it could look like for you or your customers if you wanted to go. And this slide really sums up what makes our itineraries different. Everything is crafted by local hosts like Roberto, who really know the destination inside out, can bring in those hidden gems and those authentic experiences. We focus on boutique, characterful accommodation, places that really add to the overall experience rather than just somewhere to sleep. And as you've seen, it's all about the immersive experiences, whether that's hiking through the jungle, visiting local communities, or getting up close with wildlife. And of course, those transfers being part of the adventure as well. So it's not just a holiday, it's a really thoughtfully put together private journey with every element designed to create something memorable. So just before I move on to showcase a couple of our specific itineraries, I thought I'd just share this short video with you, which really highlights some of the standout accommodation that we feature. A personal favourite of mine has to be Isla Chiquita Glamping. We didn't stay on it on the fam trip, but we actually stayed on for a few days at the end, where we did get to visit Isla Chiquita. And you're staying in luxury glamping tents here, set up in the trees. They've got wooden decks, ocean views. You've even got plunge pools on these decks. And I just remember walking up to these glamping tent, my own glamping tent, and walk. It's so luxurious inside, but then to come out on the deck and be able to sit there and watch the monkeys in the trees. Another standout moment for me. It was really magical. Brilliant. So let's take a look now at some of our most popular itineraries. This is our ultimate Costa Rica itinerary, and is essentially the journey that I've just taken you through. As I've mentioned, we actually crammed it into 10 nights, but on this itinerary, it is actually 16 nights to give people the time to, relax and chill out as well. And it really does showcase the very best of Costa Rica. It combines amazing accommodation, breathtaking transfers, as you saw in the video, and really unforgettable experiences throughout. You have all your transfers are included, obviously all your accommodation, all your experiences, and your transfers. You don't have the same guide with you all the time. You are transferred between each place, and then you will have people that come and pick you up for each experience at your at the location you're at. So yeah, it all works together really seamlessly. But it feels like you're on your own independent holiday. Nothing we do Not in the guidebooks is about group tours. Everything's flexible. Your customers can amend the duration. They can go on whatever date they like, because they're not taking part in a group tour. And I'll just play the video here, very similar to what we've just been through. Our Costa Rica East to West itinerary is by far our most popular itinerary, 14 nights in total. You go to Tortuguero, you do La Fortuna, you do Monteverde, and then, But instead of heading down, if you haven't got the time to go all the way down to the Ossa Peninsula, instead you finish with some time on the Pacific coast over on Nazara on the North Pacific coast, where you can enjoy 5 nights by the beach. So really lovely itinerary there. And finally, this itinerary, Costa Rica, Central and North Pacific coast. This has a few lesser known stops that really make it stand out. So you start in Alajuela, which is just on the outskirts of San Jose. You've got an authentic stay in a family-run hacienda before you head into Monteverde. Then you go on to the rural community of, I can never pronounce this, Ambagaritos, where clients can enjoy a hands-on, lots of hands-on experiences like cooking classes and farm visits. From there, it's down the coast to Santa Teresa and the Central Pacific beaches, surfing, relaxing, chilling out. And obviously, again, like all our itineraries, standout accommodation. And this is the itinerary where you actually get to go to the Islas Chiquita glamping, the glamping tents that you saw there, and one of my personal favorites. And Isla Chiquita is actually on a small island, so you get a boat across to it before you stay in these wonderful glamping tents. And they do some incredible trips from there. They do a fabulous bioluminescence trip in the evenings where you go out and you're in the pitch black on this boat, and then you can see all the fireflies, but then you put your hands in the water and it all lights up. It's again, I'm not going to give too much away, but just incredible. So really lovely trip, that one as well. And they're just 3 itineraries that we feature. You can see some other ones here. So off the beaten coast, Caribbean coast is another one. La Fortuna to Drake Bay. So if they do want to do Drake Bay, but they haven't got time to both do Tortuguera and Drake Bay, they can do La Fortuna to Drake Bay. And remember, we can tailor everything. So it's not just about the itineraries on the website. Use those as a starting point, download the PDF, share them with your customers. But remember, they can be tweaked, they can be booked as they are, they can be tweaked, or they can be completely tailor-made to suit whatever trip your customer is looking for. So to reiterate, these are not group tours, they are not fixed departure dates, they are not fixed durations. It's your customer's holiday, their way. So just before I finish and take any questions, I'm going to check the time there. I thought you'd just like to hear from some of our agents that went on the trip.
The thing for me is how sustainability is really a big piece, and particularly for not in the guidebooks, and the way that they sort of curate the experiences that people have on these trips makes me think of how I impact society and how society impacts the environment, particularly the other day when we went to I thought quite wonderful coffee plantation, and learning about the whole journey and how the farming process works and how they cultivate all of the beans to make this wonderful coffee, and then learning about all the different strengths of coffee and how the community really play a part in developing that sustainable farming, really.
Obviously, come to Costa Rica. It's so diverse. There's so much to see here. There's so much for everyone, because you don't have to do everything. There's little pockets of things that you can do, not in the guidebooks in particular, will try and immerse you in the local community, and that in itself is a revelation. You've just got to try it to really understand what that then brings you from your trip, and what experiences that leaves you with and the memories that it leaves you with.
The trips that we've done, the excursions, everything has been hand selected personally by Roberto, and from start to finish it's been incredible. So knowing that Not in the Guidebooks have got these relationships with these amazing people on the ground locally is one of the main reasons why I will continue to work with them, because I know that they will be offering the best product and giving the best experience. It's not the touristy stuff that other people are potentially, buying, or, the mass tours. Everything is small, unique, bespoke and fully sustainable.
Great. So let's do a really quick recap, because I have gone over time a bit, so apologies for that. Costa Rica truly is a year-round destination packed with magic from incredible wildlife and really jaw-dropping landscapes, and obviously thrilling adventures. It's a destination that has something for everybody. So whatever group you're looking, couples, families, solo travelers, small groups, it's great for all of them. With Not in the Guidebooks, we believe it's about doing Costa Rica the immersive way, taking your customers to places they wouldn't find on their own, not just the tourist hotspots. And it's also about where they stay and how they get there, experiential transfers and unique characterful accommodation. Some of you already know that the prices on our website are land only. They include all transfers, accommodation, activities, and meals where detailed. And the prices online don't include flights. This gives customers the flexibility if they wanted to use their Avios points or arrange their own flights. But in most cases, you will want to package everything together. And you've got 3 options to do that. Obviously, if you've got access to an atoll and you like dynamically packaging and you want to maximize your margin, package it yourself and just book the land element with us. Option 2 is you can book flights directly with us now. We have a partnership with Aviate, so we can quote you with flights included. You just need to jump on to chat or give us a call or send us an email. And then option 3 is to book with one of our tour operator partners, all of which you can see on the screen there. So I really hope today's inspired you to go out there and shout from the rooftops that Costa Rica should be on everyone's bucket list. To help you do that, we have lots of amazing marketing content in the form of PDFs, in the form of videos, and obviously social content as well. If you aren't already in our Facebook and WhatsApp groups, I would urge you to join them now. Scan the QR codes. We will send a follow-up email to this webinar so that you can join those groups if you aren't already. But they're a really good way of staying in the loop and seeing any new products that we've got, and also accessing all of our amazing content that Michelle puts together for us. You should also have a login, but you can see on this slide, if you haven't, where you can just email agents at. But as I say, we will be sending an email after this, so we will send all those QR codes out. If you are already part of our social groups or on our mailing list, you probably will have heard about our £99 low deposit option that we've currently got running for all departures across 26 and 27. So, you know, bearing in mind it's quite a difficult time at the moment in the current climate. So this gives you a strong confidence boosting message to try and get those sales over the line. It's on until the end of May. So for bookings made up until the end of May, you can just take a £99 low deposit for the land element of the package. And finally, let's just take a quick look at our incentive. We are doing a fam trip to Vietnam, which I'm sure will be just as incredible as our fam trip to Costa Rica that we did. You can enter in a number of ways. Just by being on this webinar today, you've earned your first entry into the competition to win a place. You can earn further entries by coming on more webinars, completing our agent survey, or by making a booking as well. So you can get more details. And again, when we send the email out to you, we will make sure you've got full details of that. And remember, we offer, it's not just Costa Rica that we offer over 30 destinations worldwide. So every booking will go into the draw for Vietnam. So whether you're booking to Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Mauritius, Morocco, Norway, Lapland, Mexico, Costa Rica, they will all earn entries into the fam trip competition draw. And that's it, guys. I'm really sorry. I hope that's, given you a really good overview and shared some real experiences from Costa Rica. You've kind of had to indulge me there. I'm going to open up the floor to questions now. So anything you've got, shout. And I will just take it back to the first slide, I think, to make sure that you can scan the code to register your attendance at the webinar. There's also the code in the chat box. So if you can't scan the code here, if you can't scan the QR code, just go into the chat box and get the link there, and just make sure you register so we can get your entry into the fam trip competition. So Michelle, any questions in the chat?
Yeah, we've got some really good questions on chat. One is from Julie, asking about if our itineraries are child friendly.
Yeah, that's a great question, Julie. So, what we say is, these aren't hard adventure, these are soft adventure holidays, but we wouldn't recommend, taking really young children on them because they can be quite tiring. So, I would say, I mean, parents know their kids best and what they can and can't cope with. But generally, we say, kids from sort of 10, 11 onwards, these are probably better for so that they can participate in all the activities. But if you've got families with slightly younger children that, are pretty active and think they can cope with it, that's absolutely fine. If there's any restrictions on any of the activities, we obviously will tell you.
And then how is the pricing works like for children? Like, for example, family of four, will the child price the same or?
Well, it depends if they're sharing a room. So the prices on our website are generally for two people sharing a room, in a twin or double room. So if you've got a family of four and they're all willing to stay in the same room, just get in touch with us either on chat or phone, and we can put the price together for you.
All right. The next question is about solo travelers. I think like a lot of agents also interested to sell this to their solo travelers.
Okay, so that's
How
interesting
does that work?
with solo travelers. I mean, Costa Rica is a place where it's very safe for solo travelers to go. We don't tend to book too many solo travelers because bearing in mind that our um, tours are private, obviously it becomes quite costly if it's just a solo traveler. Plus, often, customers perhaps, want to be part of a larger group and maybe a group tour is better for them. But if you have got a solo traveler that does want to do it on their own, we can absolutely put that together for you in Costa Rica.
Cool. Um, So yeah, definitely. I think for solo travelers, it probably like more expensive than doing two people because
Yes.
our tour will be private, but some of the activities will be joined a group. Is it correct? Maybe.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then how long is it? Does it take to visit all these places? Like, what's the ideal
Well,
duration?
the
And
itineraries that we've put together on our website, we've put them, the durations on those are where, you're seeing everything that's on that itinerary. And yes, it will be busy, but we have allowed time for relaxation as well. So, for example, on the ultimate Costa Rica, that is 16 nights, and that gives you plenty of time. You'll have 2 nights in Tortuguero, you'll have, I think it's 3 nights in Arenal, 2 nights in Monteverde. You'll then come down and have, I think it's 3 or 4 nights in Drake Bay. So, and perhaps a stop on the way down as well. So you'll it's like I said before, it's the right mix of adventure and relaxation. But if your customers have only got 10 nights, or if your customers have only got 14 nights and they want to do all of those places, we can absolutely tailor it for them. So, we can speak with Roberto. You can use people like myself, Carol, who's been there, use our expertise, and we can suggest perhaps an slightly alternative itinerary that's taken in the same kind of experiences, but perhaps cuts out some of the mileage from, if they're a bit restricted on duration.
Debbie, can I just add something about the solo or groups? I think what we've found, because as Michelle said, it does make it just not competitive to bring solo travelers on our groups. But what we have done is have hosted groups where people have pulled together. And we've done this with a number of different agency groups where they've hosted a group and we've been able to hold rooms for a period of time where you can go and take 8 solo travelers if you know them yourself. So that becomes much more of an option than if you just put one person. Also, it just is less, as Debbie said, it's sort of less enjoyable if they're doing it on their own, just them and a guide. So there is an option to talk to us about hosting groups.
Absolutely. Thank you. You were there.
Yeah, listen to the whole thing.
Any more questions, anyone?
Someone is also asking about the transfers. Was it all by boat?
No, not all of them. No, a lot of them were by road as well. So, for example, from Tortuguero. It was the boat out, but then it was in the car, via the pineapple farm over to La Fortuna, and mostly down the Pacific coast. It was by car until we got to the 2 hour seasonal transfer, as I call it.
Cool, thank you. I think we already answered everything. So if there is still any questions, feel free to
Come on to
open
chat
mic
or give us a
yeah.
call or email us. As I say, make sure that you have clicked the link either in chat or via the QR codes, because we will follow up with an email. There'll be a recording of the webinar so you can play it back. There will also we'll also send the QR codes for the social content as well. But yeah, start showcasing it on your socials. Get the inquiries in. We're seeing lots of inquiries for Costa Rica now, so make sure you get your bite of the cherry with it. And obviously, you've got the £99 deposit offer to really secure those bookings in what's a tough time at the moment. So anyway, have a great rest of your day, guys. Thanks for taking the time to come on, and hopefully we'll see you on chat or talk to you on phone soon.